of Queensland migration updates. And Gijo is just rushed from the meeting after the state government has provided the updates of what Queensland going forwards in association with MIA. So then he created certain slides for all of you, and we will go through one by one. Basically, we're going to run few slides. Then, if you have any questions, you can ask. Just unmute your mic after the session, and you can ask one to one. Like one by one, your doubts. It's not going to be a migration advice, as you guys probably know that we need to be individually seen it to provide you for one-to-one advice. However, it give you a overall idea of how Queensland is going forward this financial year. And we will be doing a detailed similar session possibly on Saturday. We're trying to get our times or on Friday night, so we'll be updating that soon. This is not a complete details available in this session, but however, there is an indication and certain details we happy to provide you. And I will invite Gijo as our head of Queensland Mara lawyers, Mara agents, and Gijo will start the program from now. So I don't want to jump through asset migration more. This is our basic team members and the leadership team. You're all waiting for more into your Queensland stream, so we'll jump into that straight. All right, so here you go, Gijo. I'll in between jump in and jump out if necessary, but otherwise you go for it.
Will you manage the slide, or I have?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay. So, guys, good evening. My name is Gijo. I just came back from the MIA and TAQ session. MIA is Migration Institute of Australia, and Trade Investment Queensland. So they both are deciding. They both do the research and finalize the requirements for the state of Queensland in terms of the skills shortage and the requirements from within Australia and overseas. So based on what I have attended, these are very preliminary information. As you know, I just came back from the meeting. So not all informations are in here, and some informations are not yet out in the market or not yet published. So this is upfront advance information only, and don't count on this completely before making your submission or planning your visa pathways. But this will give you an indication why and what's happening within the migration world specific to Queensland. And as an upfront information, we are not discussing offshore options here. That is beyond the limit of this 1 hour discussion. So state nomination program. So state nomination program is what basically every state in Australia has got certain quotas for allocation, and Queensland is one of the states in Australia, and this is specific to Queensland. So Queensland state nomination program allocation will be released by end of the month. So when I say allocation will be released by the end of the month, what it means is there is not yet clear number available for us. So the state is working on an interim quota meanwhile, which is 250 numbers. I will give you more into the last year statistics, etc. towards the end of the slides. There are
Gijo,
slides.
can I just interfere here? So if Queensland is getting 250 numbers of an interim quota, that shows or that means Queensland is getting much higher than the last year, 1,200, right?
That's correct. So last year it was 600 split, 600 for 491, 600 for 190. So I am assuming that number will be substantially higher from last year.
Yeah, because I seen the ACT have 185 interim quota, and ACT had 3,000 plus last year. So if Queensland is getting 250, that means we can expect a 3,000 to 5,000 quota, I believe.
Yeah, more numbers are expected, and that's a good news for the students or the workers within Queensland. Let's go to the next slide.
All right. Sorry. Yeah.
So major change, what I have understood from the discussion or the seminar is new onshore pathway for building and construction workforce. And that what it means is, they are looking for more building and construction related workforce. So that's why they are creating a new pathway. They removed offshore energy worker, but that's not very specific to this discussion, so I will not explain on that. But what it, in short, what it means is offshore energy workers they have removed from the priority list, and 491 SBO. So what it means is SBO is business pathway, and that is actually going to be cancelled. So now on, don't plan for buying a business and operating that. That pathway is not there anymore. However, whoever bought a business, that's a separate case. We can discuss that in detail because that's a separate story. So requirements in general, ongoing work requirement for onshore applicant that is removed. Work hours reduced to 20 hours. That's a good news. But more work is what they are looking for because more work gives you more salary. So the salary is a consideration for the invitation. So 20 hours is, yes, you qualify, but don't take it as a very big thing, you know. Queensland experience requirement changed in the sense casual work is now accepted, which is another good thing. Settlement fund not required for offshore. Otherwise, you know, you need to show some fund for you to come and settle here from offshore, but that's not the point of discussion here. Expression of interest, they will keep it for 2 years. Revised occupation list they have published, we will come to that. Selection factor, as I told you before, age, regional location, qualifications. So sometimes we get questions on, you know, people are having more points, they are not getting the invitation, but there are other considerations for the Queensland. And new method introduced for calculating the annualized earning or the salary. That will come to, we will come to that, you know, towards the end of the slide. So onshore skill list, you can see that construction, that's the topmost, and that's where it is going to be more invitation coming in this financial year. But there are other occupations as well, but that is the list. I'm not going to read one by one. You will be able to access that from the website at one point. Right now it is not updated. Probably it will be updated towards the end of this week. And they are introducing a new streamlined onshore candidate building and construction pathway. So that shows building and construction is their priority and the focus in this financial year. Next slide. Invitation rounds conducted as needed. So what it means is you don't expect invitation rounds every week or every month on a regular frequent basis. It is done based on the case officer and the number of the cases they have in hand. And the date of ROI and EOI is not a factor. So it depends upon the qualification, age, the other factors that I have mentioned before. Each pool is different. And again, you know, it depends upon the candidates and the requirements at that time. Ranked based on the occupation category. So occupation category is very important. Right course selection, right occupation selections, very, very, very important. Onshore and offshore are separate selection process. So you need to be very careful when you submit your ROI, EOI, and at that time, what are all the specific requirements or the priority that the government is looking for from the onshore and offshore candidate. That is to be checked carefully at that time. Yeah, next slide, please. I think we test based with the selection factors. So these are the main selection factors they are looking for: skill and qualification, work experience, salary. That's what I said. You know, 20 hours is the main. They accepted that, but salary is a consideration. So if you work 20 hours, obviously your salary will not be that great. English competency, age, partner skills, location of employment. Partner skills here, you know, they will be giving more weightages to those candidates whose partner have got English and a skill assessment done or a job in a shortage skilled occupation. So that is another thing that you have to consider. Location of employment, onshore candidates only. So what happens is in Australia or in Queensland, specifically in Queensland, different postcodes, that's what they prioritize. So they will look into postcode that you are applying for, where you are living, where you are working, and they will try to give equal share for the different regional areas mainly. And previously, you know, some of you may be knowing, you know, EOI require frequent updates, but right now they will accept it for 715 days. So that is a good thing. And when you submit EOI, that's a bit more detailed thing, but generally we can specify a state. Normally, if you don't specify Queensland and only Queensland, you will not get prioritized. Right now, they have removed that requirement. And usual country of must be Australia. If you are applying from Australia, that's what this whole process is for. Years of experience must be in nominated occupation. So if you are an engineer, work in engineering or related occupation, if you are an engineer and working as a chef, you can't claim any points for your experience. Make sure EOI is correct before submitting, because that is where most of the applications are going wrong. EOI and ROI, they are very important. And I know some people are submitting, and I was hearing from the team there, one particular student submitted 22 EOIs. Doesn't add any value, you know, because if you see a person making 22 or 30 EOIs, you know, they will not even waste their time. Candidate to submit new EOI for the next financial year. So you have to discuss that with your agent, registered migration agent or a lawyer, and make sure that whatever is to be done with the EOI, that is to be done. Only one ROI will be considered. Doesn't make any sense if you submit more ROIs. They are not going to consider that. They are not going to even look at that. They have everything available. They will only look one ROI, which is most latest. And ROIs will open for Queensland starting end of this week, which is 19th Friday. Yeah, next slide, please.
That's an expected time, or they confirm the 19th? Sorry.
That is an expected time. Yeah, so sorry. Yeah, so this is all based on the verbal input that I have. So you all should be very careful. You know, when I say this is 19th of September, this is based on the verbal confirmation. It's not somewhere written. So unless we have it published, it's not in force. So, but that gives you an indication. Queensland graduate pathway, no much differences here. Everything remains same, but qualification require, not the qualification, the work experience, work hour per week is reduced from 30 to 20. Also, the experience duration also is changed. So it was previously 6 months for 190, now it is 9 months. And it was previously 3 months for 491, now it is 6 months. Other things are relatively same, 0.65 bachelor degree or higher, 100% of your qualification in Queensland, graduated after 1st July 2022, specifically have a qualification on Queensland onshore skill list. So that's very important. Otherwise, they are not going to even look at your ROI. English, competent English, and employed in a role, you know, that matches with your skills.
Yeah.
Timing, experience requirement, etc. is slightly different, but otherwise pretty much similar. And this is skilled worker pathway. This is also the major change in here is the number of hours you work. You know, if you work 20 hours, that's sufficient for you to qualify. So the casual work is accepted. That is another big change. But you should still meet the employment requirement. You know, like, you know, you're working on the nominated occupation, etc. Multiple eligible jobs can be combined. So what it means is, if you are working for 10 hours with one company, another 10 hours with another company, you still qualify, because that adding up to 20. But you will have to have all the proof and everything, but that also will be accepted as long as you have definite proof and evidences to prove that. Otherwise, I think I don't have much more to discuss here. They are all very similar to last year and available on the website. This is where a new introduction has come in, which means there is another new pathway. I hope that is how it is going to be in the website. So that is for specifically for building and construction workforce. Very much, we discussed that construction is something, Queensland is really having a hell lot of shortage for construction workers. So to keep the industry moving, To have the workforce available to do the construction, they need construction. And some of you may be knowing, Olympics is coming in Queensland in 2032. So these are all the drivers for that. Maybe also there are a lot of domestic and international people coming to Queensland. So there are requirement for housing. That's why specific pathway is introduced. Very much similar. Again, 20 hours of work, closely related occupation, you need to have an ROI at least 3 months before submitting ROI. So here, if you work in construction, building and construction workforce, at least 3 months, and if you meet all other eligibility requirement, you still qualify for this pathway. Yeah, this is what I told. Previously we have business owner pathway, single business owner pathway or something like that. But however, don't read pathway 1, pathway 2. This is now going to be stopped. That's what I have heard from the discussion today. So this is not going to be an option for anyone in Queensland. I get a lot of questions, people asking, if I buy a business, can I continue staying here? Now the answer is no. That pathway is no more existing. Some people who already bought a business, as I said before, that's a different story. We will have to check what you have done, how you have done, and what are the evidences you have. We have to discuss that separately. Otherwise, that business option is no more existing. uh, as I said, they are going to give equal share for various regional areas. There are shortage, that is a real thing. So a Migration Institute of Australia, TIQ, etc., the relevant parties or the relevant institutions are in consultations with the employer and the workforce, and they are planning to expand their DAMA. So DAMA is designated area migration, and they are in consultation. So Darling Downs, Greater Whitsundays, Central Queensland consultation is complete, and they are now consulting with the Wide Bay, Burnett, far North Queensland. North Queensland, the mid-September means that's what they're aiming to complete. So there are more DAMAs coming to be in force for Queensland. Yeah, this is another thing, and I included that because I know this is an area where a lot of people do a lot of errors. So salary determination, and now actually, they are coming to make it a bit more clearer in their website. As I said, it is not there, but it will be in their website. However, the salary is calculated based on the number of days you worked, including start and end date, divided by those numbers. So calculate the per day salary and multiply that by 365. So that's how they are going to calculate the salary. So if you have 2 pay slip covering 4 weeks, that's how you have to calculate the salary. Same with the self-employed method. So if you are an employee, that's what I have discussed previously. But if you are doing your own business with your own ABN, that is based on the gross profit. So how much is the gross profit? What is the duration? Convert that to daily rate and multiply that by 365. That's a simple explanation. However, please verify that clearly before you're submitting with your uh, proceeding with your application. And I will advise you to check that with a qualified person, because that's another area where the rejection comes. Okay, so this is okay. I slightly put the heading 25-26, but this is based on 25-26 also the state allocation, not the state allocation, overall allocation or the places allocated for the visa in this financial year is 185,000.
Yeah.
That 185,000 includes skilled migrants as well as the family stream. So if you look into the graph that I have put in here, you will see 140. That's purposely done because 132,000 is where the skilled migrant quota is. Others are like family, partners, parents, child, kids, all these things. So we don't have to look into that. However, if you look into this, you can see that employer sponsored is 44,000, skilled independent is 16,900, regional 33,000, state territory 33,000, business and innovation talent pretty much smaller numbers. Look here,
Jijo, Jijo, I can.
16,000.
Oh, yeah, yeah, go for it, go for it. I was about
Yeah,
to say that. Yeah.
yeah. So look here, the skilled independent visa which is one of the best visa you can get because it hasn't got any condition associated to that. And it's purely based on your merit. That 16,900, of that almost 6,900 was issued this month. So remaining is kind of half of that. So that 60,900, divide that by 2 approximately, that is what skilled independent migration people can even think of, because that is almost issued, half of that is already issued for this financial year. Other than that, state and territory, regional areas, and employer sponsored, we will discuss that more in detail, but skilled independent is already half. And again, state allocations, this is not something that you have to consider, but this will give you an indication based on the last year. As I said, if you look into Queensland, it was for last year, it was 600, which is 1,200. As Matthews highlighted in the very beginning, if 250 is the interim quota for Queensland, this is going to be much more higher than this, and that's what we expect. Otherwise, our share previous year was substantially lower compared to other states. Now I will come to the student numbers, and just to give you some high level situation within Queensland. If you look into, there are 739,000 students, active students in Queensland, and of that, total enrolled in Queensland, in Australia, it is 739,000, 740,000. Queensland, 103,000. And if you look state by state, total students, for example, in Queensland, we will take 103,000. Of that skilled nomination, previous year it was 600, then 600. Even if they increase that to 6,000, you are looking for a very small percentage of what is the total allocation, because student numbers in Queensland is much more higher than other states. I know New South Wales and Victoria has got much more numbers, but if you look into the other states, they are substantially lesser in numbers. But Queensland has got 103,000, and the visa we are aiming 491, 190 is a very small percentage of that. In the next graph, you will see that. Yeah, if you look into this is for your better understanding and visibility. The color, make sure that you note the color. Total students, that's what 100, make it 100% of that. Skilled nominated and skilled work regional. Look into that. You can see the portion or the proportion of visa allocated for those classifications by state. If you look into Queensland, it's very narrow band, or it was very narrow band last year. So even if you are in Queensland, even if we get more allocations, the percentage wise, it is very small, or in other ways, competition is really high. But if you look into some other states, Northern Territory, Tasmania, due to the lesser number of students there, it was much more better prospectors, when it comes to the option for getting these visas. But having said that, this is not latest, because this is going to change, and it can only be changed when we know the actual number of allocations, which will only be known by the end of this month. Yeah, next slide. Yeah, I think we have already covered all this, but
yeah.
It's a very similar thing. And this is the priority occupation for graduates. Again, very similar thing. It was based on the last year's agriculture, natural and physical science, engineering and related technologies, health, information technology, education. These are still the priority areas, and this will be, in my opinion, will continue same, but construction will fit into various areas of this one. If you look into engineering, you will see the construction related professions there. Yeah, we don't have to detail this in more detail here.
I think, yeah, we'll do the final one here.
Yeah. We are skipping some of the slides because that's not relevant. And if we keep on talking about that, it's much more detailed than expected, and we cannot finish it. So general requirements, this section I specifically added for a discussion as well. So Migration Queensland will not renominate. So what it means is, once they nominate you, then they will not nominate you again for that financial year. So the takeaway from there, that is, if you make an application or if you put an EOI, ROI, and they invited you, but you realize there is something wrong, you lose the option for that financial year because they will not renominate you. So that's very important to note. Postcodes, they are again important, but if you keep on changing the postcodes, you need to inform or update the ROI accordingly. Otherwise, after getting invitation, you will not be able to launch an application. Regional Queensland, there are certain postcodes which are designated regional areas. You should be very careful with that, because that's how your visa eligibility is checked. If you are not in the right postcode, you are not eligible. If you have been nominated or hold a skilled regional visa, then again, they will not nominate you for another visa. For example, if you got an invitation for 491, don't expect them to give you another 190 invitation, even if you have ROI or EOI, etc. They won't give that. And your experience meet the requirements before submitting the ROI. So what it means is, at the date of submitting the ROI, you should have all the qualifications. Don't expect that, okay, now I have 6 months experience, I will be finishing another 3 months, so I will be completing 9 months, but I will put in the ROI now. Don't do that, because that's just a waste of time and you're losing your options. So if you meet the minimum requirements, you qualify. And for student pathways, you need to have a bachelor degree or higher, and you should have graduated after 1st July 2022 and 100% within Queensland. Yeah, annual salary, I think we have discussed that in a bit more detail. And based on your work hours, you have to find the actual annual salary. Also, all the evidences shall be kept. What happens is, if you forget to keep the evidences, after 3 years, after 3 months or so, if they ask you to provide the evidences, you may not be able to pull all that information from the ATO website. So make sure that you have all those informations available before putting the ROI. That is the information they will be asking for. Your employment must have been organized. Okay, that all I think we have discussed that.
Already covered.
Yeah, already covered.
I think we'll
Yeah.
go for a, if they have any questions, then we can go